Hi there everyone. Just going to wait for a few more people to turn up and in the meantime just going to make some notes on the board. Hi there. So, it's a bit different today. We're going to talk about some of the things people have been asking me on Q&A and just hitting me up on WhatsApp and on Facebook Messenger and just asking me their questions and really looking for some clarity. I think there's so much information out there. But it's all over the place and it's very difficult for people to assimilate that. So this was one of the later questions I got asked. Somebody said that they feel overwhelmed and they don't understand, where to look for things and who to believe, for want of a better word. And what I say to that person is that indeed there is a lot of people putting stuff out online. There are a lot of documents to read, especially if your dental practice is, or your business even, needs to furlough staff. There is an incredible amount of data to go through. And yes, there are people that are distilling it down and giving a synopsis, and that does help. But again, you've got to look for what, you've got to know where to go to get that. So I totally understand the overwhelm, and it really is one of those times that we need to sometimes switch things off. Dare I say, being on social media, but switch things off, or at least turn down the volume on them, in inverted commas, and understand that we need to protect our own health and our own mental health first. There is so much information out there, and a lot of it is contradictory, and a lot of it nobody knows the answers. So I'm going to answer some questions for you, but really speaking, I'm speculating and it's just my opinion. And of course, I'm not allowed to give you financial advice. But you've got to, and I'm going to go back to this. This is one of Stephen Covey's highly effective people, one of his elements to sharpen the saw. Now we're in a period where there is so much information out there, but we have the opportunity and the ability to grow. And that might mean reading, it might mean resting a little bit, because I bet as an NHS or a private dentist, we work really hard, and mentally we can be drained just from the work. Writing letters after work, looking after websites. We tend to do a lot of this stuff ourselves. And what I'd say to you is, take time for yourself. But in this time is the opportunity to sharpen the saw, which basically means there's no point in trying to cut the tree down with a blunt saw. It's better you stop every so often and sharpen that saw, and then you'll be much more efficient going forward. So take time for yourself, and take time just to sit and reflect and pause. But there are things that need to be done, aren't there? There are really things that need to be done. And what I'd say to you is that you have an opportunity. Don't let it go. So I feel overwhelmed. I hear it a lot, and it's very important that you seek out friends and colleagues and mentors to help you, because go to people who've done this before. Now, clearly, not very many people have done this before, but they've been through things and they've been through times and they've had more experience. Maybe you're just buying a practice and you've put it on pause. You were lucky enough to be able to put it on pause just at the right moment. And that's amazing that you've been able to do that. And we'll come back to you. But if you're selling a practice or any business at the moment, I think there is going to be a haircut. There is going to be a reduction in price. Just looking at the market, if we're going into a recession of a negative growth of multiple percentages, I don't see how that business is going to come back, and especially in the environment of healthcare, where you're very close to people and it's close personal care. The business being closed for 2 or 3 months and then opening, it's going to take time to ramp up. And certainly there'll be an initial surge, but I think overall for that period, that year, the April to whenever period, is going to be significantly down. So if you're selling a practice, I think maybe if you can hang out in for another couple of years and ride this storm, ride through this difficult period, I think it may be worth it. That having said, if you've already set your mind on, retirement or you're planning to leave, then I think it may be worth it to discuss with the purchaser and try and come to some arrangement. Remember that the contract is what you make it, and if you're going to stay in the business and you're willing to work at making that business a profitable and at least maintain that gross income, then negotiate with your seller and come to some agreement, because you want a win-win, especially if you're working in a practice you're no longer going to own. I think it's very important that you work with and aim for that win-win. Otherwise things just don't work. But I think if you're buying a practice, if you're at this stage and you've not completed, then I think you've got to really discuss with your seller and again try and come to some agreement. It's not about getting one over, and it's not about from either side. There has to be some win-win. There has to be a win-win. Otherwise, it's better just to part as friends. Now, I appreciate a lot of you, if you're at the buying stage and you're close to it, then you've already spent a great deal of money at this endeavour, and you probably also got your heart set on buying and being master of your own destiny. But it's time to pause and reflect. I think as practice owners, it is going to be a tough time, and maybe it's worth just waiting. So I don't think that it will be. I think it will be difficult, but I don't think it will be insurmountable. So if you've just purchased a practice, you've got potentially 3 months to get your CQC folders in order, to manage your admin, to go through your practice and rebrand it, to go through your practice and paint it. You can do that yourself, or you can get your staff to do it. Because remember, if they're being paid by you to work, there's no harm in them coming in and doing some painting and decorating, cleaning, doing your paperwork. They can do that at home. Furnish them with a laptop. You can get very cheap refurbished laptops online, and they're still supplying. We bought 2 last week, and we've popped them into both of our practices where our staff are going to come in and pick them up. We've got one member of staff coming in to scan our record cards onto into Exact, into SOE. So that's a great use of time. We did this exercise a couple of years ago in one of our practices, and we scanned in 7,000 records. It took probably about 6 months of a summer intern to come in and a student to do that for us, but it's well worth doing just to get rid of the space and make sure your documentation is stored on your record system. We pay so much for our practice management systems, we might as well make use of them to the max. So that's another thing we're doing. We're using our time effectively by putting our staff on some training given by the software companies. We're making sure that they're sharpening the saw, they're growing and developing and learning about the business that we want them to push forward, and it's going to be a different time, remember, when we go back. So we're going to do some role play, we're going to do some Zoom calls, we're going to talk to our staff and help them to understand the new way of working, and not to be that overly salesy practice. We were never there, but it's just a good reminder not to be overly salesy. So, and then somebody's asked me, what resources are available to me? What do I believe in? What should I believe in? Where should I go? And obviously I tell them to come to my 12 o'clock live, but to get a flavour of what's out there. But really, I think the standard places are the BDAs, very good at updating their page. You have to keep up with, if you're an NHS contract holder, you have to keep up with NHS England. I don't think the Chief Dental Officer's letters are of all that use, but you do have to go through them just to make sure that there's there's nothing you've missed. And then I think places like Dentinal Tubules and other online repositories of videos and support. But if anyone has any questions or does want somebody to just give them an overview, and now you may ask, well, why me? What do I have to offer? Well, I've been in dentistry for 20 years. 20 years of practice, mixed practice, I've written tenders for other people, for NHS tenders. I've won tenders for myself. I've put in new practices. I've relocated practices. I've sold practices, and I've had a partnership as well. So I think I've done a little bit within dentistry, and I think I'm a little bit qualified to help you in guiding you through this time. So what I tell my clients and what I tell my colleagues is that sharpen the saw. Do not miss this opportunity to learn and grow. And that may be just by reading quietly on your own. That may be in watching a webinar. That may be talking to your colleagues. But do not waste this time. It's going to become so easy to start sleeping later and later and getting up later and later and wasting the day. And there's only so much Netflix you can watch. So think about who you want to be. Think about who you want to be when you go back to work. And in order to be somebody different, you have to do different things. So open those books. Go and look through some dentistry that you may not be performing well at. Is your endo good? Are you always finding that mesial buccal too? Or maybe you want to look at business. You want to look at growing your business or being a better associate, making yourself indispensable. Because I think in these days when practice starts to shrink, there may be some associates looking for posts. You know, principals are going to be thinking that if income is dropping, I need to do more of this work myself. So your job is to make yourself indispensable. How are you making yourself indispensable to your principal now? What help and assistance and guidance are you giving to your principal to move them along? Think about it. Sharpen that saw, make yourself indispensable, and learn and grow. I know this has been a whistle stop. I've been really quick. I hope I've not been too loud. Take care of yourselves, and no doubt we'll see you again next time, 12 o'clock on Monday. I'm going to take the weekend off, and I'll see you on Monday. All the best.